The human she saw fight barehanded, and whispered, "I wish he was mine." It was a wide sheet of silver light, broken by slow-moving clouds that glowed like soft metal. Beneath it stood the conquered arena, a structure older than many civilizations. It had no walls, only invisible fields, and no audience seats, only floating platforms where observers from hundreds of species watched in silence. This was not a place for war. It was a place for judgment. Every 10 cycles, the proving was held. Species from across known space sent representatives, not soldiers, not rulers, but examples. The proving was meant to measure adaptability, intelligence, and cultural strength. No blood was allowed. No killing. The arena punished aggression quickly and without mercy. Still, reputations were made here. From her elevated platform, Valeri of the Seln adjusted the thin translator band around her neck. Her people were tall, pale, and long-limbed, with eyes adapted for patterns rather than faces. They were observers by nature, historians. Analysts, they did not compete, they watched. Valeri had watched hundreds of proving trials. She had catalogued entire species into neat classifications: efficient, fragile, arrogant, promising, obsolete. Today's final participant was listed as human, Sol system. Valeri reviewed the data once more. Moderate strength, high emotional variance, limited sensory range, no natural armor, no biological weapons, a strange species. Obsessed with stories and symbols, with a long history of self-inflicted hardship. Most analysts expected the human to fail early. Valeri felt nothing about it. Yet, the arena shifted. Energy fields folded inward, reshaping the environment. The terrain became uneven, filled with moving surfaces, fluctuating gravity, and zones that drained stamina and focus. This was the adaptation trial, one of the most difficult tests in the proving. Usually, participants arrived equipped: exosuits, neural enhancers, environmental stabilizers. The human did not. A single figure stepped forward from the entrance platform. He was smaller than many expected. Broad shoulders, balanced posture, dark hair tied back simply. He wore only light clothing meant for comfort, not protection. No devices, no implants, no visible enhancements. Valeri tilted her head slightly. "That can't be correct," another observer said through the shared channel. "Where is his support equipment?" The arena AI answered calmly. "Participant request approved. Human representative has chosen barehanded conditions." A ripple of confusion moved across the platforms. Barehanded did not mean what humans thought it meant. It meant no assistance, no correction, no margin for error. Valeri focused on the human's face, searching for signs of fear or regret. She found neither. Instead, he looked around the arena with open curiosity. He took a slow breath, rolled his shoulders once, and smiled faintly, like someone stepping into cold water they had chosen. The trial began. Gravity shifted suddenly. The ground tilted and separated into moving sections. Energy pulses disrupted balance and drained stamina. The air itself resisted movement, forcing every step to cost effort. The human stumbled immediately. Gasps rippled through the observers. He caught himself, hands touching the surface, knees bending naturally to absorb the change. He stayed down for a moment, not in defeat but in assessment. Then he stood again, adjusting his stance. Valeri frowned. Most species reacted by activating systems. The human had none. Instead, he learned. He tested each step slowly. He allowed himself to fall again on purpose this time to understand the rhythm of the terrain. His breathing changed, deep and steady, syncing with the pulses of the field. "He's wasting energy," one observer noted. Valeri did not answer. She was watching something unfamiliar. The human failed a third time, slipping as gravity reversed unexpectedly. He laughed quietly, not loudly, not mockingly, but as if acknowledging a stubborn problem. He spoke aloud. "Okay," he said, voice calm. "Not that way." The arena AI did not respond. It was not programmed to. But Valeri felt something shift. Talking during trials was rare. Most species conserved energy, focusing inward or relying on internal systems. The human was externalizing his thoughts, grounding himself through sound. Minutes passed. The terrain grew more difficult. Sections narrowed. Gravity pulled sideways, then downward, then briefly vanished. The energy field pressed against the human's muscles, increasing fatigue. His movements slowed. His breathing became heavier. Still, he did not stop. He adapted his pace. When he could not move forward, he stayed still. When standing became too costly, he sat and waited for the field to change. He used patience as a tool. Valeri realized she had stopped recording data. She corrected herself and resumed, but her notes were no longer neat. Observation: human shows high tolerance for discomfort. Addendum: appears willing to remain in unstable states longer than optimal. That was not a trait most species valued. The arena introduced a psychological stress layer. Subtle, invisible, designed to increase doubt and disorientation. Many participants struggled here, even with support systems. The human paused, his shoulders tensed, his jaw tightened. For a moment, Valeri expected him to withdraw. Instead, he closed his eyes. He spoke again quietly. Just breathe one thing at a time. His heart rate stabilized. The stress field spiked again, confused. Valeri leaned forward. This was not resistance. This was acceptance. He did not fight the discomfort. He acknowledged it, then moved through it. Around her, observers whispered, "This is inefficient." The human stood at the edge of the platform, sweat visible, posture tired but unbroken. The arena AI spoke. Phase 1 complete. Participant status continuing. A pause followed. That pause mattered. Valeri looked at the human again, not as a data point, but as a being standing alone in a system designed to expose weakness. He looked small, and yet, strangely, he did not look lesser. As the arena shifted for the next phase, Valeri felt something unfamiliar tighten in her chest. Not concern, not admiration, something closer to curiosity with weight. She adjusted her translator again, though it was already functioning perfectly. For the first time in her long career, Valeri wondered, what kind of species sends someone like this, without tools, without protection, and calls it representation? The human took another step forward, ready for what came next. And Valeri did not look away. As soon as the pause ended, the ground beneath his feet dissolved into layers of moving light. Platforms rose and sank at uneven speeds, some solid, some false. Gravity no longer pulled in one direction. It shifted gently, like a tide that could not decide where it belonged. The observers murmured again. Phase 2 was where most participants failed. Valeri of the Seln straightened on her platform. Her people valued preparation and prediction. This phase punished both. The arena AI announced calmly, Phase 2, sustained adaptation. No warning followed. The human took one step forward and nearly fell again. He spread his arms instinctively, fingers open, not grasping for support that did not exist. His boots slid across a surface that softened under pressure, forcing him to change his balance mid-step. He stopped. He did not rush. Valeri noticed this immediately. Most species panicked here. They tried to move quickly to escape instability. The human did the opposite. He stood still, letting the platform move beneath him, learning its rhythm. "Why is he waiting?" an observer asked. Valeri answered without thinking. "He is listening." The channel went quiet. The platform tilted. Gravity pulled sideways now, encouraging movement in a direction that led nowhere useful. The human leaned into it, knees bent, body relaxed rather than tense. He allowed the pull to guide him, then used it to step onto a rising surface. It was slow, but it worked. Minutes passed. The arena grew warmer, then colder. Light levels shifted, disrupting depth and distance. The energy field drained stamina in waves, never constant, always unpredictable. The human's breathing grew louder. Sweat darkened his clothing. Still, he did not stop. Valeri watched the data scroll beside her vision. Heart rate elevated, muscle fatigue increasing. Cognitive load high, yet something else stood out. Stress response regulated. That was rare. The arena introduced obstacles, not enemies, not threats, but choices. Paths that looked safe but collapsed. Routes that seemed dangerous but held firm. False signals designed to mislead. Other species relied on calculation. The human relied on experience. He tested surfaces with careful steps. When one failed, he did not curse the system. He adjusted his method. He touched the ground with his hand, feeling vibration through his fingers. He tapped, waited, listened. Valeri leaned closer. "He's using his body as a sensor," she whispered. The Seln had long abandoned such reliance. Technology was more precise. More efficient, but it could also be wrong. The human reached a wide gap between platforms. Gravity pulled downward now, stronger than before. No jump would succeed. The gap was designed to force participants to activate assistance systems. The human crouched at the edge. Observers waited. Slowly, he sat down. A few soft sounds of surprise moved through the platforms. He lowered his legs over the edge, gripping the surface with his hands. Gravity shifted again, now pulling sideways. His body swung gently, suspended between forces. Valery's eyes widened. He was not crossing the gap. He was waiting for the arena to change. When the gravity shifted upward, the platform beneath him rose, carrying his body across the gap without effort. He rolled onto solid ground, breathing hard, smiling once as if he had solved a quiet puzzle. "That was not optimal," an observer muttered. Valery replied calmly, "It was patient." The arena seemed to hesitate. The AI adjusted parameters. The field increased resistance. Movements cost more energy now. The environment was pushing back, not with force, but with endurance. The human slowed. Each step became heavy. His shoulders sagged slightly. For the first time, Valery saw doubt flicker across his face. The psychological layer intensified. Memories surfaced uninvited. Regret, fear, the pressure of expectations. The human stopped again. His hands trembled faintly. Valery felt a strange tension build in her chest. He could quit. Many did here. Instead, he pressed his palms together and closed his eyes. He spoke softly, words barely carried by the field. "Just keep moving. You've done harder things than this." Valery did not understand the words fully, but she understood the tone. He was not commanding himself. He was encouraging himself. The arena had no answer for that. The field surged again, draining strength more aggressively. The human dropped to one knee, breath sharp, body shaking with effort. The observers leaned forward. "This is where he fails," someone said. Valery found herself whispering, "No." The human placed one hand on the ground and pushed himself upright, slowly, carefully, without sudden motion. He did not rush. He did not fight the weakness. He worked with it. His movements became smaller, more efficient. He conserved energy not by stopping, but by choosing only what mattered. Each step had purpose. Valery felt something shift in her understanding. Strength, she realized, was not about overpowering the trial. It was about remaining present inside it. The arena changed again. The platforms narrowed into thin paths. Balance became critical. Gravity pulled in short, sharp pulses now, trying to knock him off rhythm. The human spread his arms again, adjusting instinctively. He wobbled, nearly fell, then laughed. A quiet, breathless sound. "Nice try," he said to no one. Valery's breath caught. That sound was not defiance. It was familiarity. As if struggle was an old companion, not an enemy. The observers fell silent. The human reached the end of Phase 2 as the terrain slowly stabilized. He stood, bent slightly forward, hands on his knees, chest rising and falling. The arena AI spoke. "Phase 2 complete. Participant status continuing." There was no applause. There was no celebration. Only a growing awareness spreading across the platforms. Valery reviewed her notes again. They were no longer clean lines of data. They were full of pauses, questions, uncertainty. She looked at the human as he wiped sweat from his brow and straightened, eyes scanning the shifting arena with calm focus. He was tired, clearly. But he was still choosing to stand. Valery felt her throat tighten, a strange physical response she was not accustomed to. Her people did not struggle this way. They optimized. They controlled. They avoided unnecessary hardship. Humans did not. They seemed to step into it willingly, carrying nothing but themselves. As the arena prepared Phase 3, Valery realized something unsettling. The trial was no longer testing the human. The human was testing the trial, and the arena did not know how to respond. Valery leaned forward, eyes fixed on the lone figure below. For the first time, she was not simply observing. She was invested, and she suspected this was only the beginning. There was no announcement, no warning. The arena simply changed, as if it had decided that silence itself was the next challenge. The ground faded away, not dropped, faded. The human stood on a narrow platform of pale light, floating in an open space that seemed endless. No walls, no sky. Only distance in every direction. The light beneath his feet pulsed slowly, like a calm heartbeat. Valery of the Seln felt her skin tighten slightly. She recognized this phase. Isolation trial. Many species feared this more than physical strain. No obstacles to fight. No problems to solve, just stillness, distance, and the mind left alone with itself. The arena AI spoke at last. Phase 3, cognitive endurance. The platform did not move. The human did. He took one cautious step, then stopped when the light beneath his foot dimmed slightly. He pulled his foot back, understanding without instruction that movement itself might be the test. So he stayed still. Time passed. Observers shifted uneasily on their platforms. Many had expected something dramatic, another test of balance, another puzzle of motion. Instead, nothing happened. The human stood alone. Valeri watched the biometric feed closely. Heart rate slowing, breathing steady, muscle tension low, but something else began to rise, cognitive strain. The arena projected faint illusions now, memories, sounds, half-formed images, not strong enough to overwhelm, just enough to distract. The kind of subtle pressure that made thoughts wander, doubts grow. The human's eyes moved slowly, tracking shapes that were not fully there. His jaw tightened. He shifted his weight once, then stopped himself. Valeri noticed his hands. They were open, relaxed, not clenched. Most participants responded by trying to block the illusions using mental shields or internal systems. The human had none. He simply watched. Minutes passed again. A soft sound escaped him, a long breath. He spoke quietly. "I know," he said. "You're just noise." The words were simple, almost gentle. Valeri felt her fingers pause over her recording interface. She had never heard a participant speak to the arena like that. Not with anger, not with fear, with recognition. The illusions shifted, becoming more personal. Familiar faces, half-heard voices. The stress indicators spiked slightly. The human closed his eyes. For a moment, Valeri thought he might lose focus. Then he smiled, not wide, not joyful, a small, tired smile. "It's okay," he said softly. "I've had worse days." Valeri stopped taking notes. She did not mean to. Her recording field remained open, data scrolling past, but she was no longer organizing it, no longer categorizing. She was watching, really watching. The platform beneath the human dimmed slightly, responding to emotional variance. The arena was measuring reaction, not resistance. It wanted panic, frustration, collapse. It received calm. The human sat down slowly, legs crossed, hands resting on his knees. He straightened his back, breathing deep and even. Some observers reacted sharply. "He's surrendering," one said. Valeri shook her head without looking away. "No," she replied. "He's staying." The arena seemed uncertain. The illusions intensified briefly, then faded. Sound dropped away completely. Even the hum of energy fields disappeared. Silence. True silence. Valeri felt it even from her platform, a deep, empty quiet that pressed against the senses. The human opened his eyes again. He looked around, not searching, not afraid, just present. His heart rate stabilized further. The arena's algorithms shifted, recalculating. Isolation was meant to weaken. For the human, it seemed to do the opposite. Valeri felt something inside her shift. Her species believed connection was a calculated exchange. Useful, efficient, optional. Humans, she was beginning to understand, carried connection inside themselves, even when alone. The platform pulsed brighter. A signal. The human stood again, slowly, as if not wanting to rush the moment. He rolled his shoulders once, grounding himself in his body. The arena introduced the final layer of Phase 3. Choice. 3 paths of light appeared before him, each extending into the distance. One glowed warm and inviting. One flickered unstable. One was dim, almost invisible. No instructions followed. The human stared at them for a long moment. Valeri watched his eyes, not the paths. He was thinking, yes, but more than that, he was feeling. Finally, he stepped toward the dim path. Gasps rippled across the platforms. "That path registers high cognitive drain," someone said. "Why would he? He's not choosing safety," Valeri said quietly. "He's choosing honesty." The human walked slowly along the dim path. With each step, the light beneath his feet weakened slightly, demanding focus and presence. The inviting path remained bright beside him, tempting. He did not look at it again. His breathing grew heavier. His shoulders slumped. Still, he continued. Valeri felt her chest tighten in a way she did not like. This was not danger. This was vulnerability. The human reached the end of the path and stopped. The light beneath him stabilized, then flared brightly. The arena AI spoke. "Phase 3 complete." A pause followed, then something unusual happened. The AI added, "Participant demonstrates sustained cognitive coherence beyond expected parameters." The observers fell silent. Valeri realized her eyes were still fixed on the human. She did not look away when the arena began transitioning again. She did not look away when the human exhaled deeply, relief clear in the simple motion. She did not look away when he glanced upward, toward the observer platforms, eyes unfocused, not searching for approval, but aware of being seen. For just a moment, Valeri felt as if he were looking directly at her. Not at her rank, not at her species, at her. Her translator band tightened slightly as her throat moved. She leaned forward without realizing it. The arena prepared Phase 4, but Valeri barely noticed. Her thoughts were no longer clinical. They were personal. She wondered what kind of world shaped a being who could sit alone in silence and come out stronger. What kind of people taught endurance without hardness? What kind of pain made calm feel familiar? As the lights shifted again, Valeri finally whispered, so softly that no channel picked it up. He's still here, not just in the arena, in himself. The human took a step forward as the next phase began, tired but steady, carrying nothing but his own presence. Valeri's recording interface blinked, reminding her that no data had been logged for several minutes. She dismissed the warning. For the first time in her career, observation felt less important than understanding. And she knew deep within herself that whatever came next would change far more than a report. There was no sudden shift, no dramatic change in gravity or light. Instead, the arena became normal. Too normal. The ground beneath the human's feet turned solid and still. The light softened into something close to daylight. The endless space faded, replaced by a wide open field with distant shapes that looked almost familiar. Valeri of the Seln felt a quiet warning rise inside her. The arena never made things easier. The AI spoke gently this time. Phase 4, Relational Adaptation. Several observers adjusted their displays. This phase was rare, difficult to quantify. Many species struggled here not because of weakness, but because of misunderstanding. The human stood still, scanning the field. It looked like a simple place: low hills, scattered structures, open paths, no obvious dangers, no visible obstacles. Valeri watched his posture change. He relaxed slightly, but not fully. He knew better now. The first structure appeared close, something like a shelter. Simple, solid, safe. The human walked toward it. As he approached, the air shifted. A faint pressure pressed against his chest, subtle but constant. His steps slowed. Inside the structure, the pressure eased. The human exhaled. Observers nodded. "Rest point," someone said. "The arena is offering recovery." Valeri frowned. The data did not match. The human sat down inside the shelter. His shoulders dropped. His breathing steadied. For a moment, he looked relieved. Then his brow creased. Something was wrong. He stayed seated, but his eyes moved, scanning the space. The pressure outside the shelter increased slightly, but inside it felt heavy, not physical, emotional. The human's heart rate changed, not slowing, but flattening. His emotional variance dropped sharply. Valeri's fingers hovered over her interface. "That's not recovery," she whispered. The arena was testing something else: comfort. The human stood up abruptly and stepped back outside. The pressure returned, but his expression eased. He laughed softly. "Yeah," he said quietly, "that figures." Valeri felt something twist inside her. The arena had offered him safety, but safety that demanded stillness. Passivity, a quiet fading. He had rejected it. Barehanded, Valeri realized, did not just mean without tools. It meant without distractions. The field shifted again. More structures appeared. Some looked welcoming, others distant and uncertain. The pressure varied between them, tempting the human toward places that promised ease. He walked past several. Each time, the arena adjusted. The human's fatigue was clear now. His steps were slower. His hands trembled slightly when he clenched and released them. Still, he chose movement. Valeri felt her chest tighten. Her people believed strength came from control and preservation, from avoiding unnecessary strain. The human seemed to believe the opposite. The arena introduced simulated figures now, not enemies, not threats, reflections. They looked human but not exactly like him. Different ages, different expressions. Some smiled, some looked disappointed, some looked tired. The pressure intensified. This phase had broken many participants. They tried to interact, to argue, to escape. The human stopped a short distance away from the figures. He looked at them carefully. Then he spoke. "I see you," he said softly, "but I can't stay here." The figures did not respond. They did not need to. They were not there to answer. They were there to hold. The human took a step forward. The pressure increased sharply, forcing his shoulders down, making every movement cost more effort. His face tightened, breath growing rough. Observers leaned forward. "He's pushing too hard," one said. "He should accept support." Valeri answered quietly. "He knows what support feels like." The human paused, bending slightly at the waist. His hands rested on his knees. He stayed there for several breaths, gathering himself. Then he straightened again. Slowly, carefully, without anger, he walked past the figures. As he did, they faded one by one, leaving only empty space behind him. The pressure eased. The arena hesitated. Valeri could almost feel the system recalculating. Relational adaptation was meant to test how a participant balanced dependence and autonomy. Most species either clung too tightly or rejected connection entirely. The human did neither. He acknowledged. Then he let go. Valery's notes were forgotten again. She was no longer comparing data. She was comparing beliefs. The field opened into a wide space. At the center stood a single object, a simple table. On it lay a device, small, elegant, powerful, assistance. The arena AI spoke. Optional augmentation available. Silence followed. The device pulsed gently, offering strength, stability, relief. The human stared at it for a long time. His breathing was heavy now. Sweat ran down his temple. His muscles shook faintly with fatigue. Valery felt her hands curl tightly together. He needed help. Anyone could see that. The arena allowed augmentation. There was no shame in accepting it. Many great species had done so. The human stepped closer to the table. His hand hovered above the device. The observers waited, breath held. Valery felt something close to fear, not fear of failure, fear of disappointment. The human closed his eyes. For a moment he did not move. Then he pulled his hand back. "I want to finish this," he said quietly, voice rough, "as myself." The arena went still. No pressure, no adjustment. The device dimmed and vanished. Valery felt her breath catch painfully. Barehanded, she finally understood, did not mean refusing help forever. It meant knowing who you were before you reached for it. The arena shifted once more, opening the path forward. The pressure returned, but lighter now, as if respectful. The human walked on. Each step was slow, each breath was earned, but he did not stop. Valery realized she was no longer seated. She was standing on her platform, hands resting on the railing, eyes fixed on the lone figure below. Around her, the other observers were quiet. No whispers, no analysis, only attention. As Phase 4 came to an end, the arena softened. The pressure faded completely. The human reached the boundary line and stopped, shoulders sagging with exhaustion. The AI spoke. "Phase 4 complete. Participant status continuing." Something in the tone was different, less neutral. Valery swallowed. Her species had always believed that reliance defined civilization, but the human had shown her something else. That identity came first. That connection meant nothing if you lost yourself inside it. That standing barehanded was not weakness. It was courage. The human lifted his head and looked toward the observer platforms again. His eyes were tired but clear. For just a second, Valery felt seen, not studied, not judged, seen. Her translator band recorded a faint vocalization from her throat, a sound she did not remember choosing to make. A quiet, private whisper. "He doesn't belong to anyone," she said, and for reasons she did not yet understand, that thought felt both painful and beautiful. As the arena prepared the next phase, Valery knew one thing with certainty. The proving was no longer about testing humanity. It was about whether the rest of the galaxy was ready to understand it. The wide field faded into a long, open path. On both sides stood structures made of light, shaped like places meant for many beings, meeting halls, shared spaces, resting points. The air felt lighter here, but also more watchful. Valery of the Seln recognized this phase immediately. Social presence simulation. This was where many species revealed their deepest truths. The arena AI spoke. Phase 5 observed continuity. The human stepped forward slowly. His exhaustion was clear now. His shoulders were heavy. His steps lacked the earlier ease. Still, his eyes remained alert, calm in a tired way. He walked down the path. As he did, shapes began to appear around him, not illusions of memory this time, observers, simulated figures from many species, tall ones, small ones, familiar forms, unfamiliar ones. They stood near the structures, watching him quietly. They did not speak, they did not move. They simply watched. Valery felt her skin tighten again. This phase was cruel in a subtle way. It asked a simple question: who are you when others are looking? The human slowed. His posture changed slightly, not stiff, not proud, but aware, like someone entering a room where expectations waited. The pressure returned, faint but constant, not physical, social. The simulated figures leaned closer. Their gazes felt heavy, measuring, judging. The arena fed the human signals of attention, approval, doubt, curiosity, layered and complex. His heart rate increased. Valery watched closely. Many participants tried to impress here. They performed. They exaggerated strength or intelligence. Some withdrew completely, overwhelmed by perception. The human did neither. He kept walking. His gaze moved across the figures, meeting their eyes briefly, respectfully, then moving on. He did not stop. He did not seek reaction. He simply continued. Valery felt her breath slow. The arena adjusted. The figures began to whisper not with sound but with suggestion. The pressure shifted, pulling at the human's emotions. The field encouraged him to change, stand taller, move faster, smile more, appear stronger. His steps faltered. He paused. For the first time in a long while, he looked unsure. Valeri felt something twist sharply in her chest. He stood there, surrounded by silent watchers, his breath uneven, his hands trembling faintly at his sides. Then he exhaled. Long, slow. He rolled his shoulders once, the way he had at the very beginning of the proving. He stood as himself again. "I'm tired," he said quietly. "That's okay." The figures did not respond, but the pressure shifted, lessened. Valeri's eyes widened slightly. He had not tried to hide his weakness. He had named it. The human walked on. As he passed each structure, the simulated figures changed expression. Some softened, some faded, some remained, but their gaze lost its weight. Valeri realized something then that made her hands tremble. The arena was failing to manipulate him. It could not shame him. It could not flatter him. He was too honest with himself for that. The path narrowed near the end. The figures gathered closer now, forming a silent crowd. The pressure increased again, focused and sharp. The human slowed to a near stop. His breathing was heavy, his legs shook. He looked up toward the observer platforms, toward the real watchers, toward Valeri. For a moment her heart stuttered. She knew logically that he could not see her clearly. The distance was great, the light distorted. Still, it felt like his gaze passed over her, not demanding, not pleading, just aware. Valeri felt a warmth spread through her chest, followed by something dangerous. Attachment. The human took another step, then another. Each one cost him effort. The crowd of figures began to fade, unable to hold him. The pressure dropped away suddenly, like a held breath finally released. The path opened. The human reached the end of Phase 5 and stopped. He bent forward slightly, hands on his knees, chest rising and falling hard. Sweat dripped from his chin onto the light beneath his feet. The arena AI spoke. "Phase 5 complete. Participant status continuing." A sound moved across the observer platforms, not applause but something close. A collective release of tension. Valeri remained standing, unmoving. Her thoughts were no longer ordered. They were tangled. She had watched many beings stand in this arena. Brilliant ones, powerful ones, perfect ones. None had stayed so fully themselves while being seen. The human straightened slowly. He wiped his face with his sleeve and looked around the quiet arena. He smiled faintly. Not for the observers, for himself. Valeri's chest tightened painfully. Her species did not form attachments easily. They studied, admired, classified. But something about this human broke through her careful distance. He was flawed. He was tired. He was still standing. And he wanted nothing in return. The realization struck her with sudden clarity. He does not need to be owned. The thought that followed was instinctive, unfiltered, and dangerous. "I wish he was mine." The words escaped her lips in a whisper so soft that no channel recorded it. Valeri froze, her eyes widened, her breath caught sharply in her chest. What had she just said? The Seln did not think in terms of possession. Connection was negotiated, structured, temporary. Desire was studied, not felt, yet the thought had come uninvited, not of control. Of closeness, of belonging near someone who could stand alone. Shame flickered briefly inside her, then understanding followed. She did not wish to own him, she wished to stand beside him. The human looked up again, eyes scanning the platforms one last time before the arena shifted for the next phase. This time, Valeri was certain his gaze paused where she stood. Her throat tightened. She did not look away. As Phase 6 prepared, the arena lights softened. The field seemed almost gentle, respectful. Valeri finally sat back down, though her legs felt unsteady. Her recording interface blinked urgently, reminding her that entire sections were missing. She ignored it. Some things she knew now could not be captured in data. The human stood alone at the center of the arena, tired but unbroken, waiting for whatever came next. Valeri pressed one hand lightly against her chest, steadying herself. She had come to observe a trial. She had found something else entirely. And she knew deep within herself that the next phase would not only test the human, it would test her. The light around the human softened until it no longer felt like a test. The ground beneath him became firm and steady, no longer shifting, no longer draining. For the first time since the proving began, the arena felt quiet, not empty, attentive. Valeri of the Seln noticed the change immediately. This phase was rare, voluntary expression. Few participants reached it, fewer still understood it. The arena AI spoke, its voice calm and neutral. Phase 6, self-definition. A pause followed, then something unexpected happened. The energy fields lowered slightly, not enough to free the human, but enough to allow sound to carry clearly. The human straightened slowly. His movements were careful, as if he knew his body was close to its limit. He rolled his shoulders once, grounding himself, then looked up toward the observer platforms, toward the watchers, toward Valeri. The arena AI continued. Participant may speak. No prompts will be given. Whispers spread across the platforms. Most species use this phase to explain achievements, defend decisions, or justify their culture. The human said nothing at first. He simply stood there, breathing, eyes scanning the distant shapes of beings who had watched him struggle, stumble, and endure. Valeri felt her chest tighten again. This was no longer data. This was exposure. The human finally spoke. His voice was tired but steady. I don't really know what you want me to say, he began. Some observers shifted. He smiled faintly, then shrugged slightly. I'm not here to prove I'm the best, I'm just here. Valeri felt something inside her loosen. The human continued. You've been testing how I adapt. How I think, how I deal with pressure, with being alone, with being seen. He paused, taking a breath. I guess what I want you to know is this. He placed one hand flat against his chest. I didn't do any of this because I'm special. The words rippled quietly across the platforms. I did it because I'm human. Valeri's breath caught. The human looked down briefly, then back up. Where I come from, things don't stop being hard just because you want them to. We don't always get help when we need it. We don't always feel strong, he exhaled slowly. So we learn to keep going anyway. The arena remained silent. The AI did not interrupt. The human continued. I chose to come in bare-handed because I wanted to know what would happen if I couldn't hide behind tools or systems. If all I had was myself, he glanced down at his shaking hands. I found out that's enough. Valeri felt heat spread behind her eyes, an unfamiliar sensation. The human looked around again, meeting the gaze of beings who had once dismissed his species as fragile, emotional, inefficient. You don't need to own us, he said gently. You don't need to fix us. You don't even need to understand us right away. His voice softened. But if you stand with us, we'll stand with you. Silence followed, not awkward, reverent. Valeri realized her hands were trembling. Around her, observers sat frozen. Some stared openly. Others looked away, unsettled. This was dangerous, not because it was loud. Because it was honest. The arena AI finally spoke again. Participant statement acknowledged. The light around the human shifted slightly, warmer now. The AI added something unprecedented. Classification update pending. Murmurs broke out. Valeri barely heard them. Her attention was locked on the human. He lowered his hand and exhaled deeply, the effort of speaking clearly visible in his posture. He looked relieved, not proud, not triumphant, just lighter. The arena began its final preparations. Phase 7 would follow soon. But something had already changed. Valeri activated her recording interface at last, forcing herself to work. Her final report would be one of the most important of her career. She began to dictate softly. Human participant demonstrates resilience without dominance. Identity without dependence, strength without aggression. Her voice faltered. She paused, then continued. Humanity does not seek ownership, it seeks presence. Her fingers hovered. She added a final note, one she knew would cause debate among her people. Recommendation: treat humanity as equals, not assets. Valeri closed the report interface before she could reconsider. She looked back at the human. He stood quietly now, conserving energy, eyes calm, waiting for the final phase. She understood then that her whisper from before had not been a mistake. It had been a realization. She had seen something rare. A being who could stand alone without becoming closed, who could be seen without changing, who could endure without hardening. The arena AI spoke once more. Final phase preparing. The light brightened. The field shifted. The human lifted his head again. This time, when his gaze swept the platforms, Valeri did not feel unseen. She felt acknowledged, not as an observer. As another being watching the same moment. Her chest tightened again, but this time the feeling was clear. Respect. The proving had started as a test of humanity. It was ending as a test of the galaxy. And Valeri knew, without doubt, that the final phase would not decide whether the human passed. It would decide whether they did. The human took a slow, steady breath. The arena waited. So did Valeri. The arena light softened until it resembled early morning, gentle, steady, without pressure. The ground beneath the human was solid and unmoving. The energy fields that had pushed, drained, and measured him for so long faded into the background. Valeri of the Seln noticed something strange. For the first time since the proving began, the arena was no longer reacting. It was listening. The arena AI spoke. Phase 7 recognition. No instructions followed, no obstacles appeared, no choices were offered. The human stood alone at the center of the field, tired to his bones, breathing slow and careful. His body carried the signs of everything he had endured: tension, exhaustion, strain, but his posture was steady. He was still here. Valeri felt her chest tighten. This phase was not about performance. It was about what remained when nothing else was demanded. The arena waited. So did the galaxy. The human looked around slowly. His eyes moved across the wide field, then up toward the observer platforms. He did not speak. He did not gesture. He simply stood as he was. The arena system scanned him one last time. No aggression detected. No dominance display. No submission response. The data did not fit existing models. The AI paused. That pause was longer than any before. Across the platforms, observers shifted. Some leaned forward. Others exchanged uneasy glances. Silence spread, thick and heavy. Valeri realized she was holding her breath. The AI spoke again. Human participant has completed all phases. A soft ripple moved through the observers. Then the AI continued. Evaluation: humanity demonstrates sustained adaptability, identity stability, and autonomous cooperation. The words echoed. Valeri felt something loosen inside her, but the AI was not finished. Conclusion, it said. Humanity cannot be classified as subordinate, controllable, or dependent. Gasps sounded openly now. Valeri's heart began to race. Humanity exhibits resilience through self-definition rather than dominance. Cooperative potential is high. Ownership potential is 0. The final words landed like a quiet shock. The arena light brightened slightly, not harsh, not dramatic, clear. Status update, the AI said. Humanity recognized as sovereign equals. For a moment, no one moved. Then the meaning spread. Equal, not assets, not curiosities. Not resources. Equals. Valeri felt a sharp pressure behind her eyes. She did not wipe it away. The human exhaled deeply, shoulders sagging with relief. He bent slightly forward, hands resting on his knees, then slowly straightened again. He smiled, not wide, not proud. Just peaceful, the arena AI added one final line. Trial complete. Participant may exit. The field at the far end opened, forming a simple path forward. The human did not rush. He took one step, then another, each one steady. Valeri watched him walk away from the arena, not as a victor, not as a symbol, but as himself. Around her, the observer platform stirred to life. Voices rose, systems activated. Reports began forming. Valeri did not join them. She stood still, watching until the human disappeared into the light. Only then did she sit. Her report interface opened automatically, prompting final submission. She stared at it for a long moment. Then she began to speak. Humanity, she said softly, is not dangerous because it seeks control. Her voice remained steady. Humanity is dangerous because it cannot be owned. She paused. Humans endure without surrendering identity. They cooperate without dissolving self. They accept help without losing autonomy. Her fingers hovered. This makes them unpredictable, she continued, and trustworthy. Valeri ended the report. She leaned back, feeling strangely empty and full at the same time. The proving platforms began to disperse. Observers departed in quiet groups, deep in discussion. Valeri remained. She felt a pull not toward the arena, but toward the exit path the human had taken. Against protocol, she left her platform. The corridors beyond the arena were calm, bathed in soft light. Valeri moved slowly, unsure of what she intended, only that she needed to see him again. She found him near the transport gates, seated on a low bench, head tilted back, eyes closed. He looked utterly exhausted. Alive, real. She stopped a short distance away. For a moment, she simply watched. Then the human opened his eyes. He looked up and saw her. There was no surprise in his expression, only recognition. Hey, he said softly. The translator rendered the word easily. Valeri stepped closer. You stood barehanded, she said, choosing her words carefully. In a place designed to strip beings down, he smiled faintly. Yeah, he replied, that was the idea. She hesitated. I whispered something during the trial, she admitted. Something incorrect. He tilted his head slightly, curious but not demanding. I wished you were mine, Valeri said quietly. I understand now why that thought frightened me. The human did not react with offense. He listened. She continued. I did not wish to own you, she said. I wished to feel close to something that could stand alone. The human considered this. Then he nodded. I get that, he said simply. Valeri felt relief spread through her. She straightened slightly. You do not belong to anyone, she said. And that is why the galaxy will learn to respect you. The human smiled, not tired this time, but warm. We don't mind standing with others, he replied. We just don't disappear when we do. Valeri felt something settle into place. She extended one long-fingered hand, not in possession, not in claim, in greeting. The human stood slowly and took it. Their hands met, no sparks, no ceremony, just contact, two beings equal. As the transport gates opened and the human prepared to leave, Valeri watched him go, not with longing, not with regret, with admiration. The proving would be remembered across the galaxy, not for its difficulty, but for what it revealed. Humanity did not conquer. It did not dominate, it did not submit, it stood bare-handed, and the universe had been forced to change around it.